Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your divorce survival guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back, and now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact. Hey everyone, welcome back. So, listen up. Couple things. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to the members of my Phoenix Rising community for being so incredibly awesome. And if you are going through a divorce, if you have made the decision and you're like, oh my God, what now? And you really see and feel the power of community and how that can aid in your process. If you want to hang out with me, and get my wisdom on how to go through the process and get sort of my eyes and ears on your case and what's going on, Phoenix Rising is the place to be. Truly, truly, the women are getting so much out of it, and they have great things to say about it. And I would love to have you in there. So if you are interested in joining an incredible group of women going through their divorces at the same time as you may be going through yours, the place to go is kateanthony.com/decided. That's right, decided. You've decided. Now what the hell are you going to do? You're going to join Phoenix Rising. That's what you're going to do. Come join us. Today's episode is awesome. I love talking to Andrea Rappaport. She's hilarious. And that's kind of her deal. She is a recovering comedian, and she is the co-host of the top-ranked Apple podcast, How Not to Suck at Divorce. And, you know, according to Andrea, when your whole world feels like it's on fire, bringing levity to divorce can be like a breath of fresh air. So we're going to have a laugh today. We're going to lighten the weight of all of this, and we're going to talk about why humor is so important when we're struggling. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Andrea Rappaport. Andrea, thank you so much for coming onto my show.
There. I'm so happy to hang out with you right now.
I'm so happy to do it again. You had me on your show, and that was really amazing. And now we are doing it on mine. For those who don't know, How Not to Suck at Divorce. If you're not listening, you should, because that's where you get the funny stuff too.
We try so hard.
You try. You do. Well, you do good job, good work. So let's talk about, listen, one of the things that you really specialize in and that is really important in your world, and I think in general, is the idea of just bringing some like humor and some levity to this process. Yes?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really funny process, isn't it?
It's hilarious.
I can't think of many things funnier. Like your world's on fire. You're leaving a marriage. You're nervous about, screwing up your life and your kid's life. I mean, I'm cracking up just thinking about it. It's so funny.
So fun. So fun. But it is important, right? It is important to bring a little bit of, because otherwise we'd be sucked into the vortex and lose our minds. Yes?
Right. Sure. 100%. For me,
yeah.
It's a backwards process. So I am funny because I'm so messed up. And I
think that's true of most comedians, is it not?
Very true. And I mean, Kate, you're from the entertainment world.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know this stuff. Like there's a reason why we gravitated towards this industry. I grew up acting. right?
Right.
I grew up in front of an audience. I then went into comedy. And so for most of my adult life prior to where I am now, I was all about pretending like everything was fine when
Yes.
nothing was fine. And then when I started talking about the truth, I realized, oh, I wonder if there's a way that I can marry, haha, some of this. Oh, stay with me. Um, that was so bad. If there was a way that I can bring in some of the humor that I used to just use as a shield, but now use it as more of a like disarming mechanism, because the science behind it, and this is like the only time I'll nerd out here, but there's actually science behind what happens when you laugh. So
Mm,
when you laugh, first of all, you can't hold your breath and laugh, which I think is so interesting. You have to exhale. Once you
yes.
exhale, you send a signal to your brain that you're safe. And you can't teach anybody anything or explain anything or open someone's mind until they feel safe. So
Mm,
then I thought, okay, if we're going to talk about really hard, icky stuff like divorce, it really is important that people can, lean in and listen to you. So that's one of the reasons why we sprinkle in so much humor, so much comedy into our show.
I love that. I love the idea. Listen, I get all up in the nerding out stuff. Like that's just
Mhm.
my jam. So the idea that like actually physically cannot hold our breath. We can't like clench and hold on when we're laughing. So why is it important? Like the release, right, of breath is why is that important?
You think about it, you think about what someone is going through when they are already in the middle of a divorce battle or, just a divorce process or they're pre-divorce, right? And they're not happy. They're overwhelmed, they're scared. They are perhaps not showing it externally, but internally there's a lot of chaos going on. So naturally you're going to be up like this. Your shoulders are going to be close to your ears. You're just feeling like there's always a pit in your stomach. It is so important to have that moment where and you feel like everything leave you for a minute. And then there is something that happens where right after that, somebody can sneak in comfort, support, information. I find even for me, if I'm just hanging out with friends, and maybe you're like this too, especially when I was going through my divorce, which my divorce was a fucking nightmare. I mean, a
Mm,
real nightmare. And prior to my divorce, my life was a nightmare. I had a panic disorder. I was in and out of the hospital. I was falling apart. So if somebody came up to me and tried to wrap their arms around me and hug me and support me, I would not have accepted it. I was like, you
right.
got to back off. But if
That's
someone
right. It
made
wasn't
me
safe.
laugh, right? You're not open to it. You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
I am in keeping it together mode. Do not come near me.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
someone makes you laugh first, your defenses go down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, offer me a joke, give me a chuckle, and then maybe I'll let you half hug me. And I
Mm-hmm.
see that
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why it's so important to me. And of course, I'm not an expert on this. I know what worked for me, and we hope, I mean, just like all of us out here, we hope that there's a part of what worked for us that's going to work for other people. And so that's why there's so many different podcasts out there.
Right. And I think it's important to like what's actually happening, right? When you breathe, when you let go, when you laugh, is that you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. And if your sympathetic nervous system, which is the like fight, flight, freeze, like trauma response, if you're constantly in that and you're allow yourself to let go for a minute, your parasympathetic nervous system, you're like rest, digest,
Hmm.
calm, you're calming the fuck down,
Right. Yeah.
which
I
is
mean,
the important part, and that's where we can process, right? As you said, it's where we can receive a hug. It's where we can start to like process and think and strategize or whatever else needs to happen in that moment.
I mean, now you sound like a somatic healer, and I love it. Yes,
Yeah,
these
I sound
words,
like one, but I'm not one.
Yes, but I mean, you're exactly right. And I hear these terms all the time. People talk about these different states that we're in. And I'm always so nervous to like, I'm like, can we say that? I mean, I guess that's right. I just know like, well, it makes me feel better. So that's the language. Well, then it helps me calm the fuck down. If we all have these little gifts, right, that we can offer. And I feel like it's our job as humans to figure out what is our gift and then give it as much as we possibly can.
Yes,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm a little bit funny, so I'm going to give that gift
You're very funny.
just a touch.
What were some of the mistakes that you made in your divorce? You're pretty open about them. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's how we all do this. Me too, right? What are some of the mistakes that you made in your divorce that sort of inform what you do now? Yeah.
So funny. It's so uncomfortable talking about this stuff because I think that for all of us, there's probably still a certain amount of shame that we carry for messing up in a process that is so major, right? And so even when I say this right now, I'm like, ugh, but it's true. As I told you before, when I entered this divorce process of mine, I was already in a really, really bad spot. I was a shell of a person. I was emotionally and physically falling apart. So when I knew that this was what I needed to do, I'm a Band-Aid ripper offer. And so I jumped. I thought that I had a plan, and I did have a plan in place. The problem is I didn't have a backup plan. And that backup plan certainly didn't have a backup plan, right? And so that was the first big mistake that I made was thinking, and now I'm going to be really careful with my words because I just hate getting sued. It's like literally one of my pet peeves is when people serve me with cease and desist. It's like, oh my God, get a life. Why are you so upset? But when you leave, if you have an unhealthy marriage, you're likely not going to have a healthy divorce.
That's right.
I'll put it that way. And that was one of the mistakes that I made was kind of kidding myself that this was not going to be anything less than a nightmare. So mistake number one was not having a realistic expectation. Mistake number two was I was operating from a place of pure emotionality. And in which everybody is going to. Whenever I say that, people are like, well, how the fuck else do you want us to be? I hear you. I get it. And because you're in that spot, you can put together a better team of support for yourself to help you think logically.
That's right.
I see your face right now, Kate. You're like, hold on here.
No. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, what I'm thinking is it's your fucking job. It's actually like, yes, you've got your emotionality, you've got your grief, you've got all of the stuff. This is why I always say that, when you're making the biggest legal and financial decisions of your life in the middle of the biggest emotional upheaval of your entire life, the first thing you need to do is process the emotional upheaval before you start making emotional decisions, emotional, legal, and financial decisions. Like, it's a terrible combination. And so it's actually your job to process your grief and all of that stuff away from all of the legal and financial stuff.
Well, I mean, isn't that why you wrote your book? Right? I mean, like,
right.
Partly, that's
absolutely
literally what you're helping people do, right? It's like, let's help you get through this part because we are not divorce machines. We are human beings. And I mean, you just said it's your job, but that's the thing. It's not their fucking job. They have a job.
That's right. Right.
They're teachers.
Right.
They are
mothers.
They're mothers who you already have jobs. And now you're being thrusted into this battle that you don't really know. And again, when I say this, it is still getting divorced was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I could have done it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
If and so that, and I would say that the biggest technical mistake that I made is I did not hire the right kind of attorney for my case. So that would be,
very important.
Feel like that sets the tone for how everything else is going to go. So And that's why I do what I do now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so great. And it's so important. So can you say more about not hiring the right attorney for your case? It's so important. I cannot stress it enough.
We talk about this more than we talk about any other topic on our show. And
Mm-hmm.
if listeners are not familiar with what our show is about, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm half of it. I'm obviously not an expert. I'm a former comedian and somebody who went through it. My podcast partner is a divorce attorney, a very well-known, very powerful divorce attorney who's the head of family law at the largest firm in the US. So when we give you legal guidance, it's
Mm-hmm.
not coming from my mouth because don't fucking
Right.
take legal guidance from me. I can direct you to where which TJ Maxx has the best deals, but legal stuff, no. We talk about this because there's so many things that somebody needs to do. One of the easiest things is do not hire the first attorney you speak to. We so badly want to have a person, right? Because you're going through this big divide. And so naturally, we're like, well, then I want to be attached to you. So you go and talk to Becky, right? And Becky's like, oh, yeah, he sounds like a dick. Oh, God, he did that? Okay, all right, let's get you out of this situation. And you're like, okay, Becky. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, Becky. How long is this going to take, Becky? How much is this going to cost me, Becky? Right. And the next thing you know, you give Becky your credit card and then you're walking around telling your friends, oh my God, my divorce attorney, Becky, she's got like the best plan for me and everything is great. But what you don't know is how great is Becky for your particular case? Does Becky offer you a strategy that's really right for you? And does Becky have a backup strategy? What does Becky have? Oh my God, Becky. like what? And so what we always say is you want to talk to three people and you want to make
Yes.
really detailed notes. And we also offer our listeners a list of questions that you should be asking each attorney. And I don't even remember all the three questions because we talk about it all the time. But of course, now I'm blanking. But that's one of the reasons why we put together a special offering, which I think we'll get into later, for our listeners so that all this information is in one place where they can see, okay,
good.
What exactly do I need to do? How do I do it?
Excellent. Okay, I want to come back and talk about that. On the other side, we're going to take a quick break. Okay, so I'm really interested in these questions that so you said there are three questions. You said you couldn't remember them, but that's okay. We'll we'll pull them out of you because I have, it is important. I think what you're saying is really important, right? That what I also find with my clients is that they'll sometimes when they come to me, by the time they come to me, they've already hired an attorney, and very often it's the wrong one. And we'll know it's the wrong one because they actually are treating you exactly the same way that your abusive husband treated you. And you're using the same mechanism to pick your attorney that you did to pick your partner.
Happens so often.
So often. And it is so devastating to realize, like, oh my God, the person I hired to get me out of this is doing the same thing. Is like keeping me in this. They're talking down to me. They're dismissing me. They're right, whatever it is. And so how do we avoid that?
Well, one of the things that we talk to our listeners about a lot is something I touched on before, which is when you leave these meetings with again, three people we want you to talk to, I want you to make immediate notes. And in something that we offer to people who are in our community is we actually have like a printable guidebook where you can make all of these notes down. You keep everything in one list and it'll have the little prompts for you. How did this person make me feel? Did I understand the strategy? And if you didn't understand the strategy and you asked them a question, how did you feel when they answered it? Did you feel like they were saying to you, okay, well, let me repeat myself again. Right? If they look up when they say the word you're out. Right. Because that is a dismissive look. That is I think I'm better than you are. You don't know the law. And also, it's not your job to know the law in your area. That is your
That's
attorney's job. You will learn this stuff. Your attorney, the biggest thing, and this is actually the first question that we do have people ask, is what is your strategy for my case? Given all this information, what would be the first line of defense here?
mm-hmm.
And for most people, I will tell you, you do not want an attorney who's going to enter the proverbial room with guns blazing.
Absolutely not.
For most cases, that is a sign that you are going to pay an amazing amount of money to fight with someone who, number one, probably wants to fight.
That's right.
So you don't want to give that to them. Something else that's really important is a lot of people who are the respondent in a case, meaning that your spouse filed first, right?
Yep.
They're the petitioner, which makes you the respondent. A lot of people are like, oh, shit. She filed or he filed before I could. And I always tell people that is amazing. That is so good. And you want to know why? It's because now they already have representation, which means your attorney can weigh in on who did this person hire and what's your relationship like with opposing counsel.
That's great.
You do not want to hire an attorney who does not like the person that they're going to be working with, because hear my words.
Yes.
They're not going up against someone. They are going into this with somebody. And divorce is a business transaction. It's a negotiation. Don't think about this as like having your day in court. You want to get this stuff resolved before it ever goes before a judge.
That's right. You do not want to enter court. You do not want to go to court.
You do not. You do not. You want two attorneys who are like, yeah, we actually get along really well. I respect her. She respects me. I work great with her.
Uh-huh.
Amazing. That's what you want.
Yes.
You want two people who can email back and forth that's like, hey, Becky, here's where my client's at. I know you really want to keep the house, Here's what we're thinking. Can we come to a resolution?
Yes.
You don't want two attorneys who have their own issues or like mishigas, as we say, and they can't get past their own stuff. And that's now getting in the way of your situation. It's really important.
It is so important. And it's so like, when you've got people who are doing their, they've got their mishigas, they're doing, you're basically paying for them to work their shit out with each other. And you are bankrolling their personal vendettas.
And they have them because they're human. I mean, it's normal, right? Like we don't like everybody. Imagine if like they were like, okay, podcasters, we want you all to like pair up with people. There'd be people who I'm like, I'm choosing her over him.
Right.
Because we don't love everybody.
That's right. That's right. We don't. It's true.
And a good attorney will tell you, and we say this all the time, a good attorney will say, okay, here's the deal. I think you're great. I would love to work on your case. And I don't have the best working relationship with so-and-so over at this firm. So what I'm going to do for you is this. I'm going to hand this case over to my associate. They're going to be the lead on this. And I'm happy to weigh in on matters that don't need like direct communication. That's one of the pros of going with a larger firm is that they have the people there. Something else that's really important is you want to understand who's going to be working on my case. A lot of people get annoyed when they hire, let's say, a partner at a firm, right? And they're like, my mom and dad helped me and I'm getting the best of the best because I'm going to take Matt down. And I hired a partner at, whatever to get me divorced. And then they start getting emails from someone who's not the partner. And they're like, well, my daddy didn't pay for this. What is this shit I'm dealing with? You guys, that is a good thing. The person at the very top of a law firm is going to have the highest hourly rate of anyone else.
That's right.
Simple little emails and things that go back and forth. You do not want to be paying for that. It is perfectly fine for more people at the firm to know about your case. That happens all the time. And it's an important question to ask when you're doing these interviews, which again, we have all of that listed out so you know exactly how to ask the question and exactly what kind of response you want back, but you want more eyes on your case.
Yes. And right, as you said, the billable, daddy didn't pay for that. You're right. Daddy's not paying for that. Daddy's now paying for someone who's got a much lower hourly rate, which you definitely want. Let's come back to this offering that you have now, this crash course that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. We've been doing our show for a few years now, and we noticed that we get a ton of questions and emails, as I'm sure you do. And we found okay, we've got 5 major buckets that these go into. And it's like the same stuff over and over again. And again, a lot of it's about an attorney. A lot of it's about the kids. A lot of it was about the house. A lot of it were a lot of people who found our show through me, who followed my personal story on my social media from what I went through. So they're also leaving a marriage that's not so healthy, right? So they're like, how the hell am I supposed to communicate with this person now?
Yes,
so
right.
We thought, okay, the market for divorce courses is saturated. There's a lot of people out there that offer a lot of different things. And I know I hate the idea of going back to school. I'm not a scholar. I don't want to be a scholar. I don't even really like reading things unless it's really juicy and I'm into it. It's not who I am.
Totally.
Same. How do we get really important information to people in a digestible way? But more importantly, they'll have an instant difference in their lives. We developed this divorce crash course, which is 5 short videos, kind of looks like our podcast, but you see our gorgeous faces. And we make the information is very succinct. We make it as funny as possible. And then along with it, you get this printable guidebook, which maps out all of the key points. It's like the Cliff Notes version.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
all of the key points, room for you to make notes, write answers to things, take with you when you speak to the attorneys. And we added into the guidebook some fun little mental health break stuff, some funny jokes, things that I went through to make you laugh. Because if you do not have a moment to laugh at all of this insanity, you are going to cry yourself to sleep. And look, that there's a good chance that that's going to happen anyway. I just want to be able, for my peace of mind, to know that I helped someone's really shitty day get a little bit less shitty.
That's right. I love that. I love that. And so is it called the crash course? And what's it called?
It is. It is called the Divorce Crash Course. And that's the website. You can go to thedivorcecrashcourse.com. And we made this offering affordable as well. That was another important point to us. When you're going through a divorce, your money is flying out the window, right? We just talked about, you're hiring an attorney, you're doing all these things, you're working with a coach, right? You're buying the books, you're doing all this stuff. And people are like, okay, I need this, but wow, damn. Right. You want me to send another $500 so I don't make major mistakes? So we made it really affordable. It's $97. You could pay in installments. If we made this, so the average billable hour for an attorney in the US is anywhere from $300 to $400. That's average. And that's actually on the lower end.
That is very low, actually. Right. Yeah.
For people who live in more rural areas.
Right. Exactly.
That, right. Where you and I live, it's a whole lot higher. Yes. So for a fraction of the cost of what an hourly rate is, we know that the information we're giving will save you thousands of dollars. Absolutely. And the reason we know this is because we actually teach you how to correspond with your attorney.
Yes. Yes.
Because what we just said about my daddy didn't pay, for me to be emailing no associate. Even when you're emailing that associate, honey child, if you are writing them a paragraph, a novella about what you're going through. Well, he did this, and then I said this to him, and then he said this to me, and see below for the screenshots, and then
yes.
They are charging you to read that entire diatribe.
Yes.
And they're also charging you to send you an email back that says, sorry about that. There's nothing we can do.
Yep.
That email that says there's nothing we can do can cost you $75, $150, $225 for them to literally tell you, sorry, but we're not sorry.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I had a client who, and she would copy me on all of the emails that she was sending to her attorneys, and it would be like 15 a day. And I'd be like, you literally like, first of all, you're overwhelming all of us. But secondly, like, this is not in your best interest. Every single one of these emails is costing you over $100. 15 a day, that's going to add up, my friend. That's a lot of money. Right. And so, yeah, I have recommendations on that too. Like, keep a running list, keep one email in your drafts folder that you add to all week. And then at the end of the week, you're going to look at it and go, okay, is all of this still important? What's the most important? We're going to prioritize, send one a week, unless there's an emergency, obviously.
Right.
Right. But you don't, my clients often say to me, like, should I tell my attorney this? And I'm saying, or should I tell them each time he does X? No, which is why having a divorce coach can actually save you tens of thousands of dollars.
Agreed.
Yes.
You know what I picture? I think one day we need to get together. I'll fly to you because your location is more desirable, but we need to film like a late night. I'm picturing like Watch What Happens Live style game where we present an idea. No, stay with me. Hold on.
Okay. No, I'm with you.
We hold up cards of, is this therapist, divorce coach? No, friend, divorce coach, attorney, like for whatever, of like who you should contact.
Yes.
Because I feel like there are
therapist. We add therapist in there too.
We could do therapist too, but I just, I don't know how many cards we can hold at one time, especially if there are drinks involved.
I don't drink, so I'll be in charge.
Okay, so you can be the designated card holder.
Yes, I'll be the designated. Yeah.
Okay. See, we're already mapping out the logistics, which I like. It lowers my anxiety. We have a plan. Because I feel like there's certain things that it's like, does this need to go to my divorce coach, or is this something that you can just text a friend? And I'm like, if people could see me right now, which they can't, I'm actually holding up
pretend cards. She's waving her arms back.
I'm waving my arms around. I look like a marionette, a deranged marionette. This is good. But it's like, we need that guidance because, again, they don't know. Nobody knows. I didn't know. You didn't know. Now we know. And that's another thing that I hate. And I'll just get on my soapbox for a minute here. One of my pet peeves, and I don't know if you share this with me, is when you're on social media and you're looking through all this shit, because naturally this is going to be in our feeds because of what we do professionally. And you've got some asinine woman on there who's never gone through this. And they are telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how you're going to screw up your kids by doing this or doing
no.
And and I'm like, why are you speaking to people like that? Why? You don't have an ounce of humility or understanding that nobody wants to be in this situation. Like, would you speak to someone who was like physically ill? Like, the way you're going and getting those treatments is the wrong way. That's not good. You're going to hurt yourself more. Like, come on. Be understanding that when you're going through a divorce, you are going to act like a crazy person because you're going through a crazy time. You're not crazy, but it's not a normal time. And so when we're offering you this guidance, it's not coming from a place of we're better than you. It's coming from a place of, I made these mistakes.
I fucked up. That's right. I fucked up. Please don't do what I did.
100%.
Well, yes. And we need to take another quick break. And then I want to talk more about that on the other side of this break. This is really an important topic in coaching. Who are you taking your advice from? Is this somebody, first of all, is this just somebody who got divorced and has now decided they're a divorce coach and they actually only have experience in one divorce? They've actually got no training in the rest of it. Is this a person who's actually studied it, who knows, and you're partnered with an attorney? Like, you've got, those of us who've been in this space for a while, we have perspective and information and education. But first of all, anyone who's telling you not to get divorced because certainly for your kids, then they haven't done any research and they don't know anything. Yeah. What do you see out there in terms of the judgies?
I see stuff that makes me roll my eyes. I see stuff that makes me want to scream our message even louder because I
Mhm.
get a lot of, in kind of what you just described, people who went through something and then become a little bit opportunistic, dare I
Mhm.
say. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I could be a coach now. I could help other people go through something that I went through. And it's like, not for nothing, but it's like I'm a really good shopper. Like I mentioned before, I love a TJ Maxx and a Marshalls, but I'm not about to develop a crash course on like fashion bargain hunting. And,
I
you
mean, I
know,
think maybe you should, but
I mean, okay, what was really funny is as I was saying that, I'm like, well, I probably could give a few tips, but like, no, but it doesn't make you an expert. I'm a fanatic. I love it.
yeah.
Like I could make videos saying what I love, but that's what I think is really important. There's a lot of content that lives out on social media that shows somebody going through it, which is totally fine. I think
Mhm.
it gets a little bit into the danger zone when someone who's going through it starts offering up their advice. Because that's
Yes.
where I think I'm like, oh, and I get it. I get why. I think it's very easy to go to that place. And I also think that it's really easy for someone who's suffering to want to get anything and everything they can. It's like and this is one of my pet peeves, when somebody holds a mom's group on social media. Like,
Mhm.
hey guys, pick in comments, is this rash going to kill me? No mean
Call your
comments, please.
doctor.
Right. Like that, like, oh, okay. And actually, I'll be honest, I see that a lot about divorce.
Mhm.
I see it a lot of guys, I don't know, he's not following the parenting agreement. Is this something that like, should I be annoyed or would you guys just let this go?
Yeah.
Okay, Katie, you need to ask your attorney. Don't take some random ass mom's opinion on what you do in a legal case.
Right. Right. I see that a lot in my group, in my divorce group. Right. And now this is
Mm-hmm.
like, these are actually women who are going through it. Right.
Right.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there is a valid place for it. Right, if we're talking about like not overspending on your attorney, and you're right. If you're gonna, if this is a legal question, you need to ask your attorney.
And because I hear you on the groups, we have a private community as well, and we get the same kinds of questions. What I
Mhm.
love though about these more controlled communities is that there are moderators like you and
Yes,
me who
that's
can
right.
weigh in and say,
Mhm.
love this input. I just need to say, as the one running this group, this is something where you really should probably ask your attorney because
Mhm.
family law is different state to state, county to county. And you
Absolutely.
know the particulars in your region. I can't tell you like definitively. And I think you got some good feedback on what other people did
Yeah,
when
that's
they
right.
were in your
Yeah.
situation. Because there is
Yep.
a difference. There is a
There's a
difference for other.
difference.
And I
Uh-huh.
also think that one of the things that I encourage a lot in my group is, and you probably do this too, where I'm like, post just to remind yourself that you're not the only one,
Mhm.
right? Like you don't have to post and say
That's
like,
right.
what should I do? I mean, people do that all the time, but I think that there's also that camaraderie level that
Yes.
is so important to know that number one, you're not crazy. Number two, you are not the only one. We feel like our case is so unique.
We
We feel
do. We
like
do.
this shit's happening only to
Hmm.
us.
That's right. And when you get into a group of thousands and thousands of women who are like, this is the power of the Me Too movement, right? We're all in this. We're telling our stories. We're saying it out loud. And women are going, holy shit, I'm not alone. Not only am I not alone, but there are 20,000 women here who are having the same experience, who are talking about the same shit. And it is,
100%.
I mean, it's amazing. And it's also like, well, then what the fuck is going on?
Oh,
Right?
You know, it's so funny you said that because last 2 weeks ago, a few weeks ago, I had a reel that I did on Instagram that went viral, which
Mm.
is so silly because it was like it was me dancing in my kitchen, talking about it. It had this audio that was playing over it that said, I took the drugs and the drugs are working. And what I wrote over it is, when you think you're crazy, but you just needed a divorce, right? And it was I grew up doing musical theater. So I'm doing like musical theater dance steps, like totally goofy. Okay. So this reel's gotten like 1.5 million views.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Crazy comments. The number of women who have written on there, oh my God, if this isn't me. And the first, for the first 100 that came through, right? I'm like, wow, it's a lot. And I mean, I could look right now. I mean, we're in the thousands for the comments. And at a certain point, like what you just said, it's not funny anymore.
It's not funny anymore. It's a fucking epidemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an epidemic, which is why I do what I do, what you do, like, because women are going through this at alarming rates. And the fact, on the one hand, the fact that thousands of women are saying, me too, they're being validated in their experiences. And also there's a problem.
Well, one of the reasons why there are thousands of comments on this reel is because half of them are from angry little men.
Oh, yes.
Got hurt.
Oh,
and
they got
they had some very big feelings that day. And they did not enjoy this content. And so they came out with their very unhappy remarks.
Now you should die because they didn't like it.
That is what I deserve for more than one reason, apparently. I'm also old, and I don't think anything pissed me off more than people kept saying that I'm 60. The fuck are you getting this number from? 60? Are you kidding me? I have so much Botox in my face right now that if you think I am 60, then I do want to die, because this is not worth it. And fuck you all. Are you kidding me? I can take whore. I can take bad dancer. I can take fine. You want to use those terms? It's a wonderful. Don't call me old. We're going to have I will say, though, we had a small, but handful of guys who came out who were like, these comments from other quote unquote men are embarrassing.
Oh,
They're
good.
Like, and even one guy even said, I got to tell you guys, I listened to your show. I even shared your show with my soon-to-be ex-wife.
Good. Like, yes, that's the shit we love.
Like, there is nothing wrong with this, but it's harder for a guy to come out and say that because there's still this boys club that exists with like, you women are supposed to be quiet.
We're supposed to be compliant and do what they want us to do and do what they say.
Oh my God. So I think it's also important, we touched on this before, but the notion that if you're going through a marriage that's yucky, for lack of a better term, your divorce is going to be more yucky. And you do need a team to get through it. I always think about this analogy. I once watched an episode of Oprah from like, oh my God, probably 15, 20 years ago, where this woman went through a horrific experience, like horrific. Her like children were killed by her husband or something horrible.
Oh, Jesus.
And she was talking about the stigma of taking medication, because this is back when taking antidepressants and other drugs were still like, ooh, right? And she said, I equate it to when you wash your dishes, do you do it by yourself? Meaning, can you just walk over to your sink and snap your fingers and magically have your dishes washed? Or do you need to use dishwashing soap? And do you need to use a sponge? And if there's something really grimy, do you let it sit overnight? And maybe sometimes you have to wear gloves. She's like, you need tools, you need supplies to do any kind of task. And if, let's say it's like, I'm not washing dishes, I need to build a dishwasher. How can you just walk up to your sink and imagine that you've done that on your own? So if you've got this major mountain ahead of you, like going through a divorce from an unhealthy marriage, do not think that you can do this alone.
No, absolutely not.
You need a team, and you deserve a team. You deserve to have a coach. You deserve to get the books, join the groups, get the course, get everything that you need, because there is a better way of doing it.
Amen, sister. Amen. Absolutely. Andrea, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and talking about all this stuff. Anything else? Any last words of wisdom or love
No,
or whatever
I
you want to
dropped my
shout out?
mic on that last one. I felt
You
like that was
did.
like,
I
woo!
feel like you did too. I feel like you did too. Boom. Get the fucking team. I love that analogy too. I love that analogy of doing the dishes, which I'm staring at. My sink is full right now and I'm sad. But yes, so thank you. You dropped the mic and I so appreciate you coming on and talking about all of this stuff and the humor and I love the humor that you bring to this. And it's not a surprise that you have videos going viral on that. So I don't, not a doubt. Yeah. So where can everyone find you, your new course, your podcast, all of the things? All
the things. So the podcast is called How Not to Suck at Divorce. It's available everywhere you find podcasts. My handle on social media, if you want to see this viral reel and other things, is at the Andrea Rappaport. And the podcast's handle is at How Not to Suck at Divorce. And the course can be found at thedivorcecrashcourse.com.
And all of that, of course, will be in the show notes. Andrea, thank you so much. And I look forward to you coming to LA so that we can do our late night show with Signs.
Yeah, we got to map out these logistics, but yes, I'm ready for it.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.